Hello and welcome to the Atheist Experience. Today is Sunday, June 19th, and happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there, including me. I've had a great day. We are live today. We do reruns on Tuesdays and some Sundays. So if today is June 19th, this is a live call-in show. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and this is my co-host today, Don Baker.
Hey, good to be here. This is our first time together on the show.
That's right. We are sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, which is a non-profit organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings every Sunday, most Sundays, at Crescent City Beignets. That's at 1211 West 6th Street. Couple of blocks west of Lamar. This starts at 11:30 and is open to any atheist or atheist-friendly people. You don't need to be a member to come. That is every Sunday except for the third Sunday of the month when we have our lecture series at the Austin History Center on 9th and Guadalupe. Those start at 12:30. Our lecture today was regularly scheduled to be today. But we didn't have a speaker. Instead, we talked about administrative stuff. Our next lecture is going to be on Sunday, July 17th. But there is no speaker lined up yet, so stay posted for details. Other regular events include Godless Gamers every Monday at 7 o'clock. That would be at my house. You can look on the website for information about how to get in touch with me. And Atheist Happy Hour every Thursday at 7:30 at Antonio's Tex-Mex on the southbound feeder of I-35, just south of 183. You can check the website calendar for more information. And if you are a member, then you should be able to log in and get specific information straight from the website. We also have a regular internet audio show called The Non-Prophets. That is on alternate Saturdays, and we are in the process of moving to a new location. It was formerly at atheistnetwork.com. It's now transitioning to freethoughtradio.com. They're currently doing reruns of the show, but they have not carried us live yet. Our previous show was Saturday, and the archive of that show will be available on the Atheist Community of Austin website, which is www.atheist-community.org. You can go there, and we have about half a dozen or so previous shows archived. That is The Non-Prophets with Jeff D. Where was I? There's another special event coming up soon. There's going to be an ice cream social next weekend at the house of Linda Raymond. That's going to be June 25th. And I've been told that it's going to be in the afternoon, but again, you'll need to check the website for details. And finally, if you enjoy this show and this is your first time watching, or you've watched a bunch and you're getting more and more into it every time, you should know that we all like to go to dinner at Chili's after the show. We usually get there at around 6:45, and everybody, again, our policy is atheists and atheist-friendly people. All those types are welcome to come over and chat with us, although that's not the venue to come and try and convert us to Christianity. This is. We also have an email address if you're unable to call in today. That would be tv@atheist-community.org. And I believe that should wrap up all the regular announcements. So I'll go to Don Baker, who has a prepared topic. He's going to be talking today about faith-based charities.
That's right. Bush's initiative This is kind of a big subject because it's been kind of going on for a long time, and what I want to do is talk a little bit about the history of it, and then I wanted to point out 6 problems that we have, that atheists have with this, and I think that anybody who has a kind of church-state separation viewpoint, which a lot of folks have, even if they are religious, I think they would also have the same opinion. And then what we'll do is we'll open up the floor to callers after that. So I'll be probably ranting for about, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. But I'll give people a heads up and let them know when they can call in.
What have faith-based charities been up to recently? Have they been in the news much?
Well, it's been up and down. I mean, in 2003 it was pretty hot. It was pretty hot during the election. There was a recent scandal that one of Bush's underlings, or one of the people in the faith-based charity program, spoke out and said it wasn't funded well enough, and that's actually a very odd thing in the Bush administration for people to speak out against Bush, because it's kind of a personality cult, if you will. People don't tend to speak out from within the. So that raised a little bit of issue, but. I think that this is such a big thing, and it's simmering along. And yes, there are. It's been going on for a while, and maybe it's not, immediate news this week. But I think it's an important issue. And anyway, so we'll get to it. The faith-based charity issues, this type of program was actually funded previously. It was actually funded for a long time. Faith-based groups could get federal money. But what they had to do is they had to show that there was a lack of conflict of interest. So they had to actually set up a separate 501c3 organization and administer that as a secular organization and provide those services under that umbrella. So And I think that's sort of a good faith sort of thing, that it says that we intend to provide these services and we're going to be accountable, that sort of thing. And in 1996, under the Clinton administration, Senator John Ashcroft, then Senator John Ashcroft, proposed this charitable choice amendment, which would allow religious groups to retain their religious identity. They would be required to give equal consideration to the people they're giving care to. They would not be able to discriminate in their employment, and they would provide secular services only. So this is a slight relaxing of those restrictions, and that actually went through. And this is quite a while ago. This is '96 that this happened. Meanwhile,
it's not clear that would have been in any way objectionable. I mean, as long as they don't discriminate against anyone or use the funds to promote their religion, it would be okay, basically?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you have a cross on the wall, maybe that's not a big deal for retaining your religious identity. The other things
I just wanted to throw that out there for people who think that atheists are out to destroy religion. Yeah.
No. In fact, I think that the criteria for these things are the laws adhered to. I mean, that's a big thing, and then also are the charities effective? And I think that's how we should measure these things, and those are pretty objective measures, I would say. And if faith-based groups can adhere to the law and do that, then that's just fine. But George Bush in Texas here created a faith-based initiative that kind of went way beyond that and relaxed a lot of restrictions. And this is really where we have the sort of issue with the faith-based charity initiative. And it was really sort of hatched here in Austin. We have Marvin Olofsky of UT, who is, I think, one of the kind of champions of this whole thing. And so Bush tried this faith-based charity stuff out here in Texas, and after a while, a lot of folks thought it was a failure. And the Texas Freedom Network actually wrote up a very nice report about the failures of what happened, and I'll go into some of those in a little bit later. But undaunted, Bush made this part of his federal election platform, and to his credit, he followed through and said, well, he promised to make a faith-based charity office, and by God, he did. He created the White House Office for Faith and Community-Based Initiatives, which is a huge mouthful, which basically borrowed all the ideas from his Texas program and made them national. he also was trying to get some legislation through at the time, and he had some roadblocks there. And some of the issues were there were some constitutional concerns, which I hope there were lots of constitutional concerns, but there weren't as many as I'd hoped for. And there were issues in the discrimination of hiring that Bush wanted to allow groups to discriminate based with federal money against so if a Christian group were funded, they would be able to not hire Jews or not hire atheists or not hire gays or whatever.
Right. I think a question that ought to be on everybody's minds is why would there need to be a specific office for faith-based organizations? I mean we have Charities, and according to what you just said, in 1996.
There was not a problem,
The laws were extended to basically allow religious organizations to be included under the blanket of Charities. So the question ought to be, why
wasn't that enough? Right.
Yeah, but why do we want to particularly make an office dealing with faith?
Oh, I agree. That's a huge question. In my opinion, faith, this is controversial, and I invite callers to call in and challenge me on this, but in my opinion, faith is tantamount to gullibility. I mean, if you believe in something without evidence, how is that any different than being gullible? Right? How is that? So maybe you have an immediate answer on that, but I don't see any. And we shouldn't.
I'm an atheist. Don't look at me.
The government shouldn't be promoting gullibility, in my opinion, right? And gullibility is not a basis for improving the world. So
I don't think having a gullibility-based office would.
It just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't have that cachet.
Doesn't have the right ring to it.
So Barney Frank had a quote during the March 2000, Representative Barney Frank from Massachusetts. He said, "I don't understand why religious groups need to discriminate against people of other religions to deliver secular services. We have been dedicated in this country to abolishing discrimination. The President's proposal appears to me to be turning back that commitment." So we agree with that. So Bush had some problems in getting this going, so what he did instead is by executive fiat, by executive order, he has charged a lot of the various, through his executive powers, has charged a lot of the various agencies within the U.S. government to mandate this charitable choice and dictate how some of that is done. And these agencies include the Housing and Urban Development, Labor, Education, Health and Human Services, Justice. So quite a number, and he's actually trying to get agriculture in there too. Now I don't know about faith-based agriculture.
So
maybe they're going to do rain dances, right? or Pat Robertson doing his weather predictions. Anyway, so we're talking about 600 new organizations that have been funded under his religious organizations. We're talking $1 billion in 2003 and $2 billion in 2004 money going to faith-based groups. So this is not small change. This is a lot of stuff. And this is actually changing the landscape of how the federal government is funding things. So this really is a big deal. More recently, we've had a couple constitutional challenges. Some of them have been successful. The Freedom from Religion Foundation has filed 2 challenges and won them against various groups for separation issues, and Americans United has done the same. So this is kind of where we're at. And what I have here is I have 6 problems that I think, and they kind of go up the food chain from the people getting the services all the way to all the way up the chain here. And 9/11 was a faith-based initiative, right? We had a bunch of people who believed a certain thing, and they got money together.
It's not the kind of faith that we like in this country.
Right. So this gets back to your question of is faith the rational criteria? What about the Catholic Church has condemned condoms as not working, right, and against all medical evidence, right, and that's a faith-based initiative. So anyway, I'm not sure faith is a good criteria. So the first problem is that recipients of the money may have to compromise their beliefs in order to get services. So the poor sot who is trying to get services, who is presumably the person most needing care and most vulnerable, has to make additional sacrifices in order to get their services. So active proselytizing is officially prohibited by these initiatives, but in reality it goes on, and that's the result of a lot of these challenges to this. Their passive proselytization is allowed. So if you're forced to sit through something and listen to something before you get the services, that's perfectly okay. And religions just love a captive audience, don't they?
Well, if I can play devil's advocate for a minute, I think what I would hear the theist saying right now is, well, if there weren't those extra charities provided by religions, then they wouldn't be getting any food in the first place. So, you know, who cares if they get some food and they get some preaching?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, what would you say?
You know, it's the means by which they do it, right? If the charities are there and are unable to do this, they can certainly do that in a secular way. That's one thing, and very often we have a case where the secular alternatives are actually underfunded or defunded in lieu of the faith-based ones. So
you're saying secular charities are actually withering away because of extra competition from preaching.
Well, not just not just because God has willed it, but because the president has sort of mandated that these programs be funded or given preferential treatment.
Wow.
So
I actually recall a case that seemed really weird to me at the time. Last year during the big tsunami, there was a group that was going to go out there on our behalf, basically, and dispense a lot of aid and food and water. And then when they found out they couldn't preach, they pulled out. Which, you know, is kind of despicable.
That's a big issue, right?
It shows where their priorities are.
Right, and this is this conflict of interest issue, which I think is the theme in all of these problems. Is that there are conflicts of interest. You know, are you there to provide the aid, or are you there for other purposes? And very often, I think with all of these 6 problems I'm raising, there are other purposes going on, and what's happened is the door's been opened to these other things, and it's harmed the effectiveness of these charities.
Interesting.
So the Texas Commission on Alcohol Drug Abuse inspectors presented Teen Challenge, a Christian residential drug treatment program, and one of Bush's highly touted models. Now this is in Texas here under Bush's administration, with a 49-page list of violations of state regulations. So this group that was touted as Bush's champion organization here in Texas had a huge list of violations. Teen Challenges said its mission was to evangelize people and initiate a discipleship process to the point where students can function as Christians, applying spiritually motivated Bible principles. The program had no credentialed counselors, no chemical dependency services, failed to inform their clients of their rights, and was found to be illegally handling medications. So not only do we have sort of incompetence there in the field, we have people that are out to proselytize, and pretty clearly, right?
Well, I mean, don't these people get oversight, same as any other government organization?
It turns out that the oversight is actually lacking in a lot of these cases. I think there's this notion of this privatization that all of a sudden, where we can have external organizations doing the government's work more cheaply, but they forget to take it into account that you have to have accountability, and you have to set up standards and all this. And if you throw away the standards and you throw away the accountability, then yes, you can do it cheaper. But you're going to get this sort of result if you do that, right? So somewhere that has to be there. Here's another example from Texas. Jobs Partnership stated that its mission was to help clients find employment through a relationship with Jesus Christ. The group's budget and curriculum show that $8,000 of the state's money was used to buy Bibles, and the program focused primarily on Bible study. So this is how things have played out in Texas. Let's see. The Set Free Indeed program. This is a national program under let's see, in California, I think. We believe that recovery begins on the cross, says the group's mission statement. We rely solely on the foundations of the Word of God to break the bands of addiction. So you're going to get prayed to or whatever. Teen Challenge. let's see.
Maybe you should rely solely on the word. I mean, I wonder if they would also rely solely on the word of God to like feed people.
Right.
I mean, right. You know, are we going to wait for manna from heaven too?
Right. Right. So So, which begs the question of, you know, if you have this all-powerful God, why do you need all these programs, or why do you need to? Why isn't He taking care of these issues? Right. Let's see. There's a model prison program in Lottie, Florida, where we have a faith-based charity dealing with inmates there, and here's a quote from an inmate that basically says, "It's not a leap to see how an inmate might think a parole board might be sympathetic to Bible-believing inmates at Lottie than they might be to non-believers at traditional state prisons. This may coerce some inmates into fake conversions to receive systematic advantages." And this inmate was talking about how they were going to weed out the people who were not believers in the program, and this program is just riddled with problems. So this is the type of thing. This is the type of thing we see that the recipients are doing. They're very vulnerable. There's the thinking behind this is if you're poor, God hasn't blessed you, and so you need more religion. That's the kind of mindset. But in reality, what's happening is
that's what Jesus said.
Something like that.
Blessed are the rich, for they have been blessed.
Right. Well, this is kind of a Protestant Calvinist sort of idea, that predestination, right? That if you're rich, God made you that way.
Yeah, but traditionally the Calvinists were supposed to care about the afterlife, not like dance around and make fun of poor people because they're because they haven't been blessed.
This has become anyway something that has shown up several times. So the people who should be getting these services are getting screwed, basically. So that's the first problem. The second problem is faith-based contractors have a conflict of interest between serving their religion and helping their charges, right? So either you're going to help the people that the state is giving you money for, or you're going to promote your religion. And in reality, a lot of Christian groups especially have this idea that it is part of their belief system to proselytize, right? So in a sense, these two goals are at a train wreck, or at the center of a train wreck, because you can't serve both of those, right? You either have to honor your religion and proselytize, or you have to honor the Constitution and not.
Right, because like it would be okay if these people were running religions and not we're running the charities and not proselytizing. But if the religion says you have to proselytize all the time, then that's fine. Go ahead and proselytize, but you don't get government money for it.
Right. But what's happening is Bush and others are saying, well, these poor religions are being discriminated against, right? These poor religions are not able to, they're not able to play on this fair playing field, right? Which is patently false. A lot of religions believe that money comes from God, and therefore should be spent on godly purposes.
I wonder, while they're worrying about this fair playing field, if they're letting Scientologists sit there and preach their religion.
No.
I mean, I believe history says they haven't.
Right.
This stuff about a fair playing field, they're lying.
That's right. That's
the word.
So I have a couple quotes here from Marvin Olasky, one of his last columns in the Statesman. He was talking about how the faith-based charity thing went on despite all of the criticism behind it, and he wasn't actually mentioned not at all the concern of how well the money was spent, but he did raise this evil specter of the danger of faith-based applicants will have to leave their faith behind is still present, blah, blah, blah. So you can kind of see where that's going. Susan Jacoby, author of Free Thinkers, says, but there never was a barrier preventing Catholic charities from hiring Catholics or Jewish charities from hiring Jews. What the government did do in the days when political leaders respected the First Amendment was to tell federal contractors, if you want public money, you can't refuse to hire somebody because he doesn't share your religion. So this is addressing your issue. The policy shift was denounced by the American Civil Liberties Union as the most sweeping affirmation of tax-funded religion and religious discrimination since the president took office, yet this change was downplayed by the news media as a routine bureaucratic matter.
It is now, but it wasn't routine before.
Yeah, now we're kind of getting numb to it, right? Because there's so much stuff. Okay, so let's see. So one of the issues, so this whole notion of playing contractors as victims and being the subject of discrimination is completely missing the point. The point is this money is destined for helping the people getting those services, and if you are accepting government money to do a contract, by goodness, you have to follow the laws of the U.S. government. It's that simple. So I think the thinking behind this is that God will make it all work out, and it's somehow giving money to faith-based charities that's going to make things work out.
It'll make God feel more like helping poor people if you throw a bunch of money at churches. He doesn't want to otherwise. It's just not worth his time.
Yeah. So in this Texas Freedom Network, they did a report on the Texas faith-based initiatives and how that went. And I wanted to read from their executive summary some of the problems that they found. And it kind of fits in with this contractors issue, the conflict of interest issues. They found that loosened regulations over faith-based providers has not served the faith-based community at large, but has instead provided a refuge for facilities of the history of regulatory violations and a theological objection to state oversight at a higher rate of abuse and neglect. So the money was not being well spent. They were being spent on organizations that were doing their own purposes and not dealing with the actual charity. They let's see, the loosening regulations over faith-based providers has endangered people in need and lowered standards of client health, safety, and quality in Texas. Faith-based deregulation has allowed physical diseases to go medically untreated. That's not good. They've resulted in preferential treatment of faith-based providers and government contracting opportunities. We're going to hit that in a little bit. Commingling of funds to spend on church activities. So there's this issue of how is the money spent? Are you improving your church, or are you spending it on the people who have the need? Okay. So I'm going to go on to the next problem, which is for political reasons. We have the Bush giving this initiatives, and all this money is flowing out of his fiats, his executive orders. Funding agencies are under pressure to fund religious programs and show success. So they have to actually. The money is earmarked for faith-based groups, and so. What we're seeing is a whole bunch of abuses in order to make this work. So we're seeing lower credentials for faith-based providers so that they're able to get the money. So basically, in order to fill the dance card, they're lowering the standards. So for example, if they were required to get licenses and things, they may be able to waive getting licenses, which is not good for the end. Right. There's preferential treatment getting contracts. We talked about that very briefly. Good providers are encouraged to be more faith-based because it actually changes the relative number of faith-based charities. So I've actually heard of an example where a group that was really not faith-based was encouraged to be faith-based so that they could claim it as a success on this other. And of course, wow. we have a reduction.
So it's not just adding new faith-based organizations. It's actually turning things that had been presumably successful secular groups into religious preachers.
Right. Yeah, we got lots of problems here. We have a reduction in funding for non-faith-based programs, even though they are successful, and newer programs which tend not to be as successful funded in their place. Effectiveness, of course, suffers here, and effectiveness is what it should be all about. Let's see. We have, let's see, here's a quote about the shift of federal funding. Bush has pushed for increased funding in religious-based programs while promoting deep cuts for many traditional anti-poverty programs. The result is that many small church and community-based social service programs are slowly assuming the lead role in the war on poverty, once held by long-established community development organizations. Administration officials say that faith-based groups are often less expensive and more effective in helping the needy, and a contention that traditional service providers challenge. And this whole effectiveness thing is horribly flawed. And the reason is what we find is groups that claim success. Generally, when you look deeper, you find out that the books have been cooked on those things. And let's,
like, for instance, and this is only tangentially related, but there's that whole Chuck Colson prison ministry, right?
Yes.
Where they claimed that they had an exceptionally low recidivism rate, meaning people who were released after having completed the program and going back to and being caught again for other crimes.
That's right.
But then it turned out that they were like whitewashing their statistics by basically saying that anybody who doesn't finish the program and get a job after they're out doesn't count. So if you just narrow your set to all people who got a job after they were out, of course your recidivism rate is going to be low, but then it turned out that among people who started the program, if you count everybody, their recidivism rate was higher.
That's exactly right. In fact, you more or less gave what I had.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
I stole your
I'm totally thrilled. No, I'm totally thrilled you did that. And his program is called Interchange, and that's exactly what they did. They cherry picked. They cherry picked the cream of the. No, this is wonderful, Russell. They cherry picked the cream of the crop, and they said these are the ones we want to count, and we're not going to count the other ones. And it's called creaming, or cooking the books. And you're exactly right. When you did the numbers right, you got a result that this wasn't necessarily a good change. In this Lottie prison in Florida, we have the case where we have GED classes to get your I forget what that stands for. It's a high school equivalency diploma. Computer classes, vocational classes,
general education degree.
Right, something like that. Even television antennas, all of those things that used to be provided to everybody, and now they're provided only to the ones that are doing the faith-based stuff. And gosh, the other guys are not doing as well for some reason. So how did that happen? So there's all sorts of book copying and going on here. And accountability is rather poor in these things, and that's where they're cutting the corners is on accountability, and they're trying to put the best face on things. Okay, so we've talked about the people getting the services. We've talked about the service providers. We've talked about some of the political things at work. The remaining problems I have are U.S. government in the business of creating an official religion. We have political leaders selling out the Constitution for political gain, and religion taking over government. So those are the three remaining problems.
Do you want to maybe come back to those?
Yeah, we can do that if you think it'd be good to mix in some calls.
This is a live call-in show. Today is June 19th, 2005. So if today's date, as you watch, is not, then this is a rerun. If you see the phone number on the bottom of the screen, then you can call it. But this is a hot topic, and you've managed to fill up the lines, Don.
Yeah, so. Even without putting up the number. I don't think they even put up the number.
They have it there.
Oh, they have it there? Okay.
Let's
take a couple calls, and what we'll do is...
we'll come back to this.
We'll go to the last three.
So we're going to start with Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi.
Yeah, I guess I'm what you might call a Christian, although I don't like to identify with that term based on all the connotations. I am totally against faith-based initiatives. I see it as I don't see the president the same way you do. I think that I think he's a deceiver. I think he's totally backwards. Everything, it's like backwards masking on albums.
When you say you don't see him. When you say you don't
play his
see him
speeches
the way
backwards and he's talking about the devil or something?
Yeah, Luciferian chants or something.
When you say you don't see him the way we do, you mean you don't see him as a true religious guy?
Yeah, I see him as a total fake and a fraud, and actually probably...
Well, we might be closer than you think on that, but...
Yeah.
But I want to remind people that this is not overtly a political show.
Right. Well, he's the one who instigated all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if the Church of Satan wanted to sign up for faith-based initiatives, could they get a cut in that, or?
Well, of course not. They'd trump up some reason not to.
The theory is yes, but in reality, only Christian groups have been funded through this, and I think that's a problem. I think that if you're going to open this to all faiths, you should fund all faiths, don't you?
Well, yeah, the Christians are probably the first ones lining up for the whole deal,
And I don't mean to bash Christians.
But,
there are good Christian groups
cases
here.
where other religious groups have applied and been rejected. Isn't that right?
Yes, I believe so.
They're choosy.
Yeah,
that's great.
So, one of the things I wanted to respond to you is I wanted to say that you don't have to be an atheist to be for church-state separation. I think that it's good for religion as well.
Right.
So,
of course. I mean, the Americans United for Separation of Church and State is run by Reverend Barry Lynn. So, I mean, we take our allies where we can get them, and this is important.
Yeah, I was wondering, too, about, like, tax exemption status. I was wondering if fraternal orders are tax exempt or if they actually have to pay taxes.
I don't know about that. I imagine
think you'd
that
have
they
to
could
look at the individual cases.
Right.
I imagine that they could organize as an educational organization. So I think they'd be 501c3. C3.
Right.
I think, but I'm not a tax person, so I'd just be guessing on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's totally wrong. I think that it's kind of crazy. As I told you, I guess I might not follow the teachings of Christ, but I think I'm turning more into a believer.
In what?
Excuse me?
In what?
In Christ, I guess.
You don't follow the teachings, but you're a believer?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's like, it's like I'm not a perfect man. I do things wrong. I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette right now. It's desecrating my body, right?
Okay, but you don't think you should be tortured forever for doing that, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's a very fun idea.
Yeah.
But, I've studied a lot of different aspects of religion and science, and I'm coming to my own conclusions about how we got here and what our purpose is.
Have you considered studying science also while you're studying different religions?
Well, that's the thing. It's like I do study a lot of science. When I was a very young child, I had dreams of being an astronaut, and I used to live in Florida and watch, the space shuttle go up from my backyard, and I think my ideas about that kind of changed when I wasn't very good in math, and then when it blew up. But it's like everybody knows who Einstein is, and I'm not going to say you guys don't know who Max Planck is, but a lot of...
I do.
Yeah, I mean, in pop culture...
We're nerds.
That's what it's like, in pop culture, most everyone knows who Einstein is. But then, you start to break it down, it's like, to me, it's...
Well, is the goal to be well-known, or is the goal to make an impact?
Yeah, I mean, to make a lasting contribution to humanity.
Do you want to be Michael Jackson and be well-known, or do you want to be Norman Burlag and feed a billion people? Burlag. I did a show on...
That's exactly the point.
That's exactly the point, right? So,
it's like, a lot of people know who what his idea about energy is. A lot of people probably don't even understand it, but then you get into like quantum physics and Max Planck's ideas about how energy works, and I still don't really. I'm going to admit that some of that stuff goes right over my head.
Well,
but you know.
Us too, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Some of it more than others.
Some of it more than others, right.
yeah.
I have a huge respect for science popularizers like Richard Dawkins and the late Carl Sagan, whose job it is basically to break things down in ways that laymen can understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty interesting because yesterday I was thinking about Carl Sagan, and did he come up with the ideas about flatland?
No, that was Edwin Abbott in the late 19th century.
Okay, he just talked about it. Okay, so that's my perspective on things, is that there's stuff going on that, and science isn't concrete, you know, it's like there's always different theories that are coming about, and it tends to build on itself based on some of the theories that become accepted throughout the scientific community, right?
Sure.
Well, science isn't black and white, and it's a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Right.
it doesn't have
Science
every
is a
answer.
methodology
It's
for
a methodology,
understanding
right?
things.
So to me, it's like,
But if you want quick answers, I guess you say God did it, or you
Right.
make up something, right? And
Right.
and
Right,
maybe and you
because
run the risk of
science is
having
hard.
the answer be wrong, right?
Right.
Or you wait for the right answer to come out of the scientific process.
But
That's how we view it, I guess.
I guess I think that this is a really magical. Well, that might be not be the right word, but we live in a really strange universe, and
No argument.
yeah, we're limited in. I feel that we're limited in our perceptions, and I feel that we're limited in the physical world, even with the instruments of science that we use in those perceptions. And that goes back to the whole flatland analogy, where if you had
How would a two-dimensional creature reason about the third dimension?
exactly, man,
Right.
and that's exactly what I'm talking about, because the two-dimensional being's only going to see like a sliver. And I've heard people explain that's what ghosts are and stuff like that.
Well, if you have a means by which you can learn new things and you can show that this is another way of knowing, and actually discover things or prove things that were unproved before or that sort of thing, then it would be adopted by science.
Yeah.
If it can't make predictions or whatever, then it's no good, right? It's not useful.
Yeah, but I
Right.
think
The fact that you can't know everything, which, I mean, absolutely everybody would admit, the fact that you can't know everything does not make you automatically justified to say that any crazy thing that pops into your head is automatically true.
right. Well, I kind of think that I could use like the analogy of like the cave, and there being
Yeah.
a fire and there being shadows, and the world we live in.
Aristotle, right?
Yeah, well,
Plato.
Plato, sorry.
Yeah. So it's like we can't really perceive everything that's going on, and if there's higher dimensional aspects going on, we can only see parts of the 3 or 4 dimensions that are below those.
Yeah, but we are able
then
to
the
reason
thing
about
to
our
do-
senses and understand the limitations of our senses and know where we have problems, right? Where we can't hear everything, we can't see everything. We have certain blind spots in our field of vision because of where the optic nerve goes through the eye, and our brain just makes up that part of the image.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about that, you might assume it's magical or who knows what. But
the thing to do, and I agree with your point about fourth dimensions, and there are obviously a lot of things out there that we don't know or maybe can't know. But the thing to do in that case is basically brainstorm and think, suppose this thing is out there, can I come up with a way to test whether that's real or not? Is there any way that the world that I live in would be different if this thing existed than if it didn't? And based on those tests, you try to figure out whether what you're guessing is right. And that's science.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just go ahead and say, well, those things might be out there, so I'll believe in them. But basically, that's not what science does, and a lot of atheists agree that while there probably are a lot of things that we don't know about, the time to believe in them is after we have some kind of evidence that they're true.
Yeah, but I was looking through the latest issue of Scientific American, and they're talking about how they don't even really know how lightning works still. Like they have, they still have different theories about it. Like there's still a couple of different theories about the ionosphere and the sun charging the particles in the ionosphere.
There are some mechanisms that are in question, and it's because something happens so fast and happens up in the atmosphere that we can't sort of be there and slow it down and watch it.
But they don't still think that it's done by Zeus, for instance.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Right.
you know, there's a difference between not knowing some of the specifics and not having a clue at all.
Right. Well, that's like you just said. There's some, you know, there might be some things that we can't know, like
Right.
that are just so far beyond our capabilities.
I'm sure there's some rock somewhere in the universe that we won't turn over and look underneath it and see what's there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot.
All right. Well, thanks for your call, Matthew.
Sure.
Okay.
Bye. Do you want to go on with with another?
Yeah, let me do another one, and then we'll take some more callers. How about that? Okay, so the next problem with the faith-based charity initiatives is it puts the U.S. government in the business of creating an official religion, because they have to make decisions about which groups they're going to fund and which groups they're not going to fund. So, and unfortunately, this raises some constitutional issues, right? We have this Constitution of the United States with this First Amendment, which is something that we're very big on in the atheist community. The government cannot establish a religion or have an establishment of religion, and one of the ways that the Supreme Court decides this when these establishment cases go to the Supreme Court, like with the Ten Commandments, which is coming up here, is they use the Lemon Test. And the Lemon Test says it is basically 3 different tests, and you have to pass all of them in order for something to be considered kosher or okay by the First Amendment.
And government can't decide what's kosher. That's Jewish.
That's Jewish, right? That would be a violation of the Lemon Test, actually. So the Lemon Test, the first prong says a government action must have a secular purpose. And well, pretty clearly, these faith-based initiatives don't have a secular purpose. They are there to promote faith, and of course, it's faith in gods and deities and all that good stuff, and probably only the Christian God, as far as I can tell. So it fails on that prong. If it fails on any of these, it's dead, right? So it fails on the first one. What about the second one? Well, a government action cannot help or inhibit religion. Well, they're funding religious programs, so it's helping religion, and they're not funding others, so it's inhibiting others. So right there, you got a problem, right? The third prong is the test prohibits an excessive entanglement between government and religion, and this is kind of the weakest of the because entanglement is kind of ill-defined, but certainly if the government is funding faith-based programs, and it's entangling religion and government. So in my opinion, this whole thing is a slam dunk that this is illegal by the First Amendment, and therefore the Constitution should disallow it. And we'll get to the reasons why it hasn't been challenged in a little bit. But so what we have here is unfortunately, we have the United States government. We have the situation, this is reported in The Nation, that no direct funding from faith-based office has gone to a single non-Christian religious organization, whether Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, or Sikh. So this is basically a Christian program is what this is, and they should just stand up and admit it, right? It's that simple. And
they're using the word faith as a euphemism when they really mean Christian.
Right.
Just like intelligent design is a euphemism for we really believe in Genesis.
Exactly. So there was actually a little snafu that Jim Towie, who is the current head of the Office of the Faith-Based and Community Initiatives Office, he actually put his foot in his mouth and basically said that somebody asked him why didn't he fund pagan groups, and he basically says the gist of his response was they're not compassionate. You know, they don't care to come and do compassionate things, and of course a lot of people were pretty pissed off about that. Apparently there are 300,000 pagans in the United States.
Wait, let me guess. He knows they're not compassionate because they don't run charity organizations. And they can't run charity organizations because they don't get the money because they're not compassionate.
Something like that.
That's called circular reasoning.
Yeah, closer to the mark is that they don't have as a basis of proselytization, so they haven't built in a lot of mechanisms to proselytize as a way of doing that via other things like providing charities or whatever. So Jim says that helping the poor is tough work, and only those with loving hearts seem to be drawn to it. So he pissed some people off there. They are funding the Mooneys, though, which is just grand in my opinion. And the Mooneys are helping with pushing celibacy, marriage counseling, and...
I still don't understand why these people love the Mooneys when Reverend Moon said that he's more important than Jesus. He said he's the king of the universe, and Jesus said, you're the guy, I defer to you.
He's a hoot. He's a definite hoot. And Pat Robertson claims that he's doing mind control and all sorts of stuff. It's hilarious to watch them fight. But they coronated the Reverend Moon
King of the Universe,
King of the Universe in a federal building not too long ago. That was pretty interesting. Okay, so maybe getting back to summarizing this, the U.S. government in the business of creating an official religion. Well, that religion is Christianity, and apparently only Christians are compassionate. So, but in reality, what this is a means of hiding favoritism in federal funding. So this is a definite problem, and in my opinion, this whole thing should be flushed out because it's very unconstitutional. Let's take another caller.
All right. We can go next to John in a second. Once again, this is a live call-in show, but only on Sunday, June 19th. And the number shows up periodically on the bottom of your screen if today is live. John.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. I was just going to say, I don't see what the harm is if all these people want to believe whatever they want to believe, and it helps them and gets them through whatever it gets them through. What's the big deal?
Well, an individual, can believe what he wants, and there are churches out there, and the individual can go to a church, and I think that's really wonderful. But here we have a situation where the government is got you as a captive audience.
Like pushing religion?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm claiming.
Yeah.
And that's...
haven't they always done that, though?
Yeah, but the point is that they can't use government money to push religion, and that's been the case since the country was founded and the Constitution was written.
They always find ways around all that. I mean, it's just another way for them to steal money and do whatever they want.
Well, that's certainly
didn't you just say that it does
not an unreasonable view of it?
Wait, wasn't the premise of your call that belief in God never does harm?
I'm just saying if it helps them, like someone in prison, if they have a big experience and they're saved or whatever, and it helps them and they go on to live a normal life and blah, blah, blah.
The problem is that it's not objectively clear that it has been helping
Right, that's exactly right. I mean, what you would need to do is you need to say, well, belief actually does make a difference. It actually, have some measurements of people being improved in some way or some measurable way, right? So you need to have an objective measure that this is going on. And in reality, none of these studies show that this is helping, and in many cases, it shows that it's not helping.
Right, like there was a study that came out last year that showed that Christians actually have, for instance, slightly higher divorce rates than the rest of the country, and a variety of other things like that, where you would assume, based on the rhetoric, that they have an advantage, and yet it was either worse or very, very close in almost all cases.
And nobody's perfect, though. Don't you think that there's some people that are out there truly trying to, they really believe in that, whatever they believe in, whatever religion it is, and they're trying to help people. I mean, some people out there are.
I'm not against compassion. I think that's fine.
Right.
But if you want to be truly compassionate, you need to use effective. You have to do something effective in order to do philanthropy and help people, right? You can't just, invent something or
make somebody up.
Yeah, and do that. I mean, in order to impact the world, you have to understand how it works, and you have to know how to have an impact and know how to improve things, and have to know the causes of why there's this disease of AIDS, or know why teen pregnancy is a problem, and go at the root of those things. And
right, like there's a difference between saying, oh, your village was hit by a tsunami and you're all starving, let me give you some food, versus let me give you a bunch of Bibles and then you'll feel a lot better about
we've
the tsunami
always
hitting.
done that, though. Give me a break. I mean, we go and take villages and actual... I mean, the whole people have never even seen. I don't know. It's just weird. Go take it over and basically make them think what we think. I don't know. It's weird. But.
Yeah, well, but just because we've always done something doesn't mean it was ever a good idea.
But, I'm not
cultural imperialism, I guess, is what you mean.
It's always going to happen as long as they're in power, and I don't know. It's just always has and always will.
Well, the powerful always
messages here
seem to get their way, don't they? So.
And Scientology, no scientists in the world can even, none of them agree with each other. Not one of them.
So, wait, Scientology is not science.
Scientology, I'm just saying science in general.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Scientology, I know nothing about.
So, scientists don't agree with each other that
there's debate about
sun
how many
revolves around the Earth, for instance.
Oh, come on, dude. Don't act like I'm fucking poop.
Well, you can't swear on our show. I'm sorry.
So give us an example. Did you drop him?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry, but all
right.
He can't get us in trouble.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is a family show.
Yeah. Well, and plus, I don't know how much the FCC cares about cable access, but
that's right. Saying pooper is bad news these days, isn't it? The FCC will get you.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. So
moving on to point 5, or
I'll do another little riff here. The next problem with faith-based charity initiatives is we have political leaders selling out the Constitution for political gain, and so it's pretty easy to see that we have Bush. Using this faith-based charity initiative to woo voters, right? We have him coming to black churches in the most recent election and saying, "Hey, we got this faith-based charity thing. You should vote for me," and Hispanic voters as well. I'm sorry. I'm
getting a note from the control room that the FCC has no jurisdiction over us, but They frown on it at ACTV, is what I understand. I mean, I used to be a producer of the show, and I've gotten all the lectures about stuff we can't do. So, it's somewhere in the recesses of my memory. Anyway, go on.
Okay. So, here's a quote from a Hispanic organization, Nueva Esperanza. Let's see, in which one of the largest contracts to provide training to smaller organizations and distributed federal cash. Its $7.4 million contract makes Reverend Luis Cortez, the group's head, one of the most prominent Hispanic evangelists in politics, and he's blunt on saying that he will give his endorsement to any politician who delivers money to his fund. So if that isn't buying votes,
sounds like bribery.
Sounds like bribery, right? There's a Reverend Jim Dickerson, who's a black a reverend in the New Community Church. Let's see, in Washington, and he's actually spoken out against this. He has. He will listen to faith-based charity efforts and some of the presentations on it, and he says, "I listened, but I was quickly obvious that this was just a smokescreen to recruit blacks and minorities into the Republican Party by bribing them with money and access to power, even while covering up cuts in vital social programs and giving big tax cuts to the wealthy." So he's right on the mark as far as I'm concerned. Later, after he spoke out, they disinvited him from these things and got rid of him. So he's no longer invited to these faith-based charity promotion things. So this is actually gives rise to a bigger problem here in the United States, where we have people who take an oath of office to uphold the Constitution and to serve the government and so on, but in reality they're following their own thing.
They're being paid not to.
Well, yeah.
In a nutshell.
So we have these serious conflict of interest issues. Ashcroft basically gave this whole faith-based charity thing a pass while he was Attorney General, and didn't do a darn thing about it, even though it's his job to uphold the Constitution. So, in my opinion, this is just cynical manipulation from the government of people. And, you know, if they really believed that this faith-based charity worked, that we would have a faith-based IRS, and we wouldn't have to pay taxes. We would pray to God, and we'd get all our tax money in, and we wouldn't have to have any of these problems. We'd have a faith-based Center for Disease Control, and all our diseases would go away. We'd have faith healers, that sort of thing. Exorcism for those mentally ill people. We'd have a faith-based Department of Defense. Right, where we wouldn't have to fight anybody. Saddam Hussein, we just send some prayer warriors down to the Capitol and have them pray.
And of course, don't forget about the faith-based Department of Weights and Measures. I hear that they're seriously looking into bringing back the cubit.
Right, and the shekel, right, for money. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to callers, and then we'll hit the next problem later.
Okay, before we do, a couple of reminders. We are going to be meeting, there's a half hour left in the show, and we are going to be meeting at Chili's, which is on the corner of 183 and 35. After the show, it takes us like 45 minutes to break everything down and get there. So if you want to show up at around 6:45 and hang out with some incredibly cool and attractive people.
Yeah, it's not just us. We got a live audience and of course our crew.
Yeah, of course when I said attractive people, I meant them.
That's right.
And also, if you don't manage to call in today, since we're taking up a lot of time with this great prepared subject, you can email us at tv@atheist-community.org. And now we're going to go to Adam. Hello, Adam?
Hi, fellas. How you doing?
Hi.
Great.
Good. I've been taking notes since I've been on hold.
Okay.
That always scares me.
It should. First off, the little placard in front of you guys there, it shouldn't say keep them separate. It should say make them separate.
Okay,
right,
yeah.
Right. That's probably true.
A good point.
That's probably true.
Has not been kept. Second of all, Russell.
Yes?
You were a bit condescending on a caller a couple of times ago.
My wife always dings me on that too.
Yeah,
what?
Well,
Okay.
you should, and you should perhaps put a placard in front of you that faces you that says, keep from condescending.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, you know. One of the things
thanks
about...
for the feedback.
I'm sorry?
Thanks for the feedback. What's the next point?
As far as... faith-based initiatives.
You might want to turn your TV down because we're getting some feedback.
Are you getting some feedback? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't hear you very well, so...
Okay. You should be able to hear us through the phone, I hope.
I can't.
Okay, then do what you have to do.
That's the control room's problem.
How's this?
I hope they'll fix it.
It's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, good. As far as faith-based initiatives go, I kind of feel that we use the. I'll just mute it. I think that the less fortunate should probably use and I say use importantly, much the same way that the unfortunate use the government. Getting into the system. Use faith-based initiatives. Spend the government's money. Let them use it. Now, people choose to be...
I'm not quite sure I understand your point.
Why?
Because the money's there.
But the money is being diverted from other places to put it there, is what Don
Yes, it's being used in a less effective way than it could be. And that's something, as a taxpayer, I care about.
Perhaps so. However, use the money's going to be spent. The money's going to be diverted to faith-based organizations. If everybody... See, the thing is And quite honestly, I choose to be an atheist. You know, I'm 39 years old.
Doesn't it bother you that your tax dollars are used to promote religion?
I think he's not saying that it doesn't bother him. He's just saying, in sort of a fatalistic way,
okay,
it's happening, so what are we going to do about it? Is that right?
Exactly. I'm trying to look at it pragmatically and practically.
Well, it's possible that you know the little spiel I prepared today was you weren't necessarily the best audience for it. I was trying to, I think, make people aware of what the situation is, which is actually, in my opinion, kind of grim, right? Especially in this last one. And maybe you already realize that. You already realize that there's this enormous shift that has gone on to promote faith and
wipe out separation of church and
wipe out
state.
the separation of church and state.
That no such thing exists. I mean, when I saw that on the screen here that you were going to address the bumper sticker, the first thing I thought is, oh, he's going to tell us that the words state, church, and separation don't appear in the Constitution, which we hear a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this attitude shift that there's no such thing. It's bad to keep church and state separate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have been able to set you off your dinner plate a little bit.
What?
Just as a matter of you supposing that I was going to.
Well, I get 4 words on the screen,
right,
so
okay.
I wasn't predicting what you were going to say.
So your point is that it's already too late. We've got a theocracy. Is that kind of where you're coming from?
Not necessarily. My point is really use the system. The thing is I'm under the impression that there are a lot fewer people than the government may presume are taking advantage of these programs.
How
for the sake of believing in God, instead of for the sake of need. They're doing it because they're hungry, and not necessarily because they believe in God.
How do you recommend using it? I mean, who specifically are you addressing when you say use the system?
Everybody who's hungry or needy. Everybody. Everybody.
But you would say that anyway to people who weren't taking advantage of, like, secular charities that give food, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay.
But, you know, if there are 2 bodies of water and there's a sign posted above each one, and one says this is a secular body of water and the other says this is a Christian or a faith-based body of water, somebody who's thirsty is not going to care. They shouldn't. They need to drink.
But if you're getting Bible lessons by one group and job training in the other, you know, I don't think that in all cases the choices between secular versus non-secular. I think in many cases the choice is between a broken program or no program, or a broken program and something that used to be funded that worked pretty well that is no longer funded. So I think that the situation's a lot different than perhaps you're saying here, right? I agree with you if it's just a matter of drinking holy water versus regular water, it's like no big deal. But if you really have a broken program because it's not being the accountability isn't there, or because people don't have licenses when they should have, then you're really sort of not getting anything of use.
Yeah, I think you and we are coming at this problem from sort of 2 different angles. You're saying that you should sort of use the systems that are in place if you are a homeless or a hungry person, and that's true as far as it goes. And I would also say that if you're living under, say, the Taliban, and they come and say, well, our government is going to kill you unless you say you're a Muslim, I'm damn well going to say I'm a Muslim.
Word.
right.
So, I mean, if that's what you're
There's some
saying,
practical
then I
issues,
absolutely agree. But the angle that we're coming at is from another perspective. We should do what we can to convince people that we shouldn't go down that road that leads to the Taliban, basically. So, I mean, I don't think we really disagree. We're just talking about two different perspectives on the problem.
Right. I think that it's the difference between philosophy and pragmatism.
I've been accused of being too philosophical sometimes.
Well, the thing is, if I'm hungry, I'm either going to go to the government or I'm going to go to the church. I'm an atheist, but the box of macaroni and cheese that I pick up does not taste Christ-like. So from wherever it comes, I'm thankful for it. And if it just so happens that the government paid for my box of macaroni and cheese, or I guess ultimately it's the same thing. If I get it from the church, then the government paid for it as well. I guess ultimately that's my point, is the money's going to come from the government in either sense. It's going to come from them. The church isn't, the charity basket is not going to feed 1,000 people from their church. It is the tax exemption. It is the faith-based initiative money. Russell, you've got that look on your face again.
Good luck getting good luck getting condoms from some of these faith-based groups that are doing health ed.
No, I understand that. And that's. Like I said, I'm looking at it from a pragmatist point of view.
The problem, maybe the reason I have the look on my face, is that what I'm thinking right now is that Don has been saying over and over again that it's not that the food tastes different from the church, it's that there's less of it. More money goes to fund less effective programs, and in some cases completely ineffective programs. And it's not a matter of how the food tastes, it's a matter of whether there's enough for everybody, and whether there is less of it than there would be if this system weren't in place.
Or what it costs, not necessarily in terms of money, but in terms of the liberties that we have to sacrifice.
That too.
Right. And I understand all of that. And, like I said, again, this isn't a matter of philosophy. It isn't a matter of time. I can't wait 2 weeks for that box of macaroni and cheese.
Okay.
Neither can a lot of people.
Pragmatism is actually a fine way to make decisions, and I don't mean to knock you for that.
Sure.
But in the meantime, sure. In the meantime, deal with pragmatism now.
Okay.
Deal with philosophy forever.
All right. Well, thanks for your input.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you for your call.
Bye. Speaking of sort of the border between pragmatism and philosophy and politics, there's going to be an interesting ruling tomorrow that people should keep their eyes on.
Tomorrow or a week from tomorrow?
Okay,
sometime some Monday this month, and it hasn't happened yet, so there's 2
The
Mondays
United
left.
States Supreme Court has been hearing the case of Van Orden versus Perry, which is a case that originated here in Texas. Thomas Van Orden is a local lawyer who has been challenging the fact that there is a huge freaking granite monument with the 10 Commandments on it, or if you'd care to count them, 11 Commandments.
That's right.
And the Supreme Court has been hearing arguments in it, and sometime soon they're going to be deciding the case based on the question of, and I quote, whether a large monument 6 feet high and 3 feet wide presenting the 10 Commandments located on government property between the Texas State Capitol and the Texas Supreme Court is an impermissible establishment of religion in violation of the First Amendment.
I think it is.
Yes, but apparently this ruling could have far-reaching
well, it not only impacts that monument, it impacts all of the monuments throughout the country.
As well as apparently
them.
they've been asked to consider whether the lemon test should be overruled, and you talked about the lemon test.
We talked about the lemon test, and there's some grumblings about whether or not that is the true and right test, and the Supreme Court has actually kind of wavered on that. But we'd be up for a stronger test.
Right.
But this is, kind of minutia of constitutional law. Actually, this is getting off into that thicket.
So that's one to keep.
So this will probably be a big deal. The religious right will probably make a big fuss about it, one way or the other. However, the ruling will happen, but
okay,
it'll be a big deal.
You got one last point?
I got one more and then a little summary. The sixth problem I have here with the faith-based charity initiatives is it's a means by which religion is taking over the government, and what we see here is not just social service funding. We see this sort of a creeping thing going out into other areas. So I mentioned that they're thinking of adding the Department of Agriculture to the list of federal agencies that would be funded. We have the National Park Service starting to be affected by this. We have, for example, at the Grand Canyon, we have some groups trying to get books in the bookstore that are taking kind of a biblical view of the Grand Canyon, that it was created by a flood, and that the world is only 6,000 years old. We have seen,
which is just dumb even to a lot of religious people.
Yeah, but this is actually, and they're taking down some plaques that say how old the canyon is because we don't want to offend those people. Which is very unfortunate in my opinion. I mean, the book is one thing or another. It can be off in a religion or spiritual section, and if it's appropriately labeled, I don't have a problem with that. But if you're starting to take down factual information, that's deception is what that is. Another area where we have deception in the National Park Service is apparently there's a national group that has done some sort of documentary on the Lincoln Memorial and the various demonstrations that have occurred there, and they decided, well, we had this pro-abortion or pro-choice group there, and we had this gay rights group there, and we're gonna make sure that those folks don't get included in this, and instead we're going to include some the Promise Keepers and some other groups that didn't even protest at that memorial. Right, so we have this redaction of history going on in the Park Service. So this is just kind of smaller things, but on the bigger front, we have a movement of this faith-based charity into the state governments. That Bush is going to force it down on the state governments, and if it's the case that the federal government has funded a certain group and made certain dictates that basically they can't they're going to stifle any state laws or laws in communities such as Austin or Portland or whatever that would prohibit funding for some of these things that are unconstitutional. So that's a problem, and that's something that's on its way. Who's behind a lot of this is the Dominionists, who are who are basically trying to take over the government, and the idea,
Jeff D. talked about that a couple of months ago on the show.
Yeah, so I won't harp on it too much, but the idea of the Dominionists is they found something in Genesis that says and God gave man dominion over his creation, right? And they've turned that into, Christians should take over the world. So they've bastardized it quite a bit.
What do we do tomorrow night, Brain?
Yeah, right. So the godfather of the Dominionists is James D. Kennedy, the most influential evangelical.
And evil guy.
An evil guy, yes. He has this wonderful quote, "Our job is to reclaim America for Christ at whatever the cost. As the vice-regents of God, we are to exercise godly dominion and influence over our neighborhoods, our schools, our government, our literature, our arts, our sports arenas, our enrichment media, our news media, our scientific endeavors, in short, every other aspect and institution of human society. And he said, let's see, we have David Limbaugh saying, we have a right and indeed an obligation to govern. This is about Christians. So they're actually, thinking of taking over the government, or that's their goal. And with that, we have them doing all sorts of interesting things. We have a piece of news that I am really pretty upset about. This was reported in Salon. The article is called "An Epidemic Failure," and this is about the Dominionists getting into foreign policy. And in particular, we have AIDS relief. So what's happened is the U.S. government under Bush has created a separate fund for AIDS relief around the world and defunded a lot of the, just like with other faith-based charity stuff, they've defunded a lot of programs that were working, and they've put more money into this other program, and this other program is promoting abstinence and getting rid of condoms and doing the usual religious right things. Another little wonderful thing that they're doing is they are insisting on name brand AIDS drugs instead of generics that are 2 to 4 times cheaper. So the idea is you're making the whole thing less effective by giving money to the drug companies. So that's another part of the thing they're doing. But pretty much everybody who's in this AIDS services around the world thinks of this as genocide. That they're basically promoting misinformation about condoms. They're actually removing condoms in many cases from countries and not supporting them. The amount of funding is being reduced. Effective programs are being dismantled, and good ones are being and bad ones are being put in their place. And I highly recommend this. This is from Salon.
Effectively, what I hear you saying is, I mean, people ask us all the time, like one of our callers, what's the harm in letting them promote religion? And I think clearly the harm is that they don't just promote religion and do nice things. They also crowd out groups that are already doing good things, and then replace them with something less effective,
right,
while at the same time promoting their religion, which the government isn't supposed to be involved in.
Right.
So it's not harmless.
So yeah, the evangelicals are effectively creating a situation of genocide in other countries with money that would be spent more effectively, and I really am pretty upset by that. So faith is not a means to effective public good. Faith is the same as gullibility in my statement. So we didn't get any callers on that. Mm-hmm. We have the whole faith-based charity thing is rife with conflict of interest problems. It's not moral. It pays the way to this dominionism and has little to do with real compassion for the end people, for the people getting the services.
Well, thanks, Don.
Sure. Let's take one or two more.
We're running out of time. We've got a little over 7 minutes left, and we've got full lines. So if you call now, first of all, you'll get a busy signal, and second of all, you probably won't get in anyway.
So if you didn't get in, write us at tv@atheistcommunity.org.
Right, and if you want to come and spend time with us, and you're atheist or atheist friendly, come to Chili's at 183 and 35 in 45 minutes.
Thereabouts.
Yes. Carlos.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Fine.
Well, I'm really enjoying your presentation over here, and I want to give you guys kudos because this information is real critical to everybody. It's important education. I think it's real critical. I got a couple of points for you guys. The first thing that Bush did was called the gag rule. And the gag rule was basically to reduce or eliminate any kind of funding for countries out there that believed in protective sex, using condoms and so forth.
Right, right, and I think that one of the first things had to do with abortion, right? That any group that was providing information about abortions, whether or not they were providing the abortions themselves.
If they preached anything other than not having any sex at all, those benefits were taken away from them.
Right, right.
So the AIDS epidemic continued on through the roof.
And by the way, that has recently had a similar analog pass in Texas, where basically schools can no longer teach. Schools now have to teach abstinence-only sex ed, and I know this because My stepdaughter actually went through that.
Yeah.
I have a point. I know that you guys were wondering about the atheist, our opinions on the atheist experience and so forth.
Okay.
I have kind of a unique background where I used to be a Mormon missionary for 2 years of my life. And now I'm not an atheist, but I do use the atheist rule, which is if I don't see it, it's really difficult to believe it, okay?
Right.
Kind of
not
like,
if you don't see it, it's not there, but you shouldn't put faith in it.
Right. Well, one thing that I learned when I was on a mission, which was very, very critical, is that true religion and true science cannot conflict. If those conflict in any way, one of them is not true. And there was a caller earlier on that said, well, you know, the scientists are always disagreeing on certain issues. Well, guess what? A lot of the Christians disagree on a lot of issues. A lot of religions disagree on a lot of things.
I mean, there's not a million different little sects of science.
Oh, no. But the whole point is it's based on believing, based on facts, okay? And religion is belief based on faith.
Right.
So you obviously have two different rules of engagement there.
Well said.
I am very strongly in favor of the separation of state and church. I think that it's really kind of sad what I think has happened. I mean, you know, I kind of, how can I say this? Everything that I consider to be good in my life that I am, I give, you know, it is due to my experience as a religious person in my early youth. Okay, and so there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of good things that come around from organized religions. As I become older, I have found that historically, religion has been used as a way to be able to control the masses. And you know what, guys? It's no different today. It is no different today.
Very true.
No.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you short because we're running out of time. But I thank you for calling and excellent points.
Thank you.
Bye. And this may be our last caller of the day.
You wanted to get in one more call?
Yeah.
Okay, then I won't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Comment on what he said.
Am I cutting you short?
Well, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. We're also going to go to Tom.
Hey guys.
Hi, Tom.
I appreciate your show. I just had a kind of a quick comment on something you said earlier. You were wondering why the religious right seems so enamored with the Mooneys, and I've seen that, and I've wondered about that myself. And they also have a very close alliance with the Mormon politicians, and it does seem extremely hypocritical, considering that both those groups would be considered heretics and blasphemers, actually, by Orthodox Christianity.
The Mooneys, the Mormons actually did a very big push on the same-sex marriage issue in Hawaii. They were instrumental in getting that stopped.
Oh yeah, they're big allies with Bush and on the religious right. And 150 years ago, those same type of Orthodox Christians were trying to eliminate the Mormons. I mean, they were literally trying to kill them and drive them away. And now they're in bed together politically. And it's all a matter of actually their political goals are more important to them than their so-called religious philosophy. At least at this point. If the Dominionists and those types ever take over, they'll be one of the first. Internecine warfare will be extremely bloody, I think. Then they'll be trying to kill the Mooneys and the Mormons again.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of infighting once they win. Yeah.
So I think it just shows. It kind of points at the deviousness of that whole political movement and the dangerousness of it.
Right.
And help, excuse the expression, but God help us if they ever take over.
Yeah.
Especially those minority religious groups who, because they consider them worse than heathens and pagans, blasphemers. That's the worst. Going back to passages in the Bible and theologians since then.
Yeah, well, I want to
considered the worst.
I want to reiterate something we say often on the show, which is that separation of church and state is not just for atheists, because the biggest people that it protects is religious groups from other religious groups.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Orrin Hatch and people like that ought to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
If some of those extreme allies of the religious right take over, he and his fellow believers will be targeted. They definitely will be. All right, thanks, you guys.
Okay, thank you for calling.
Bye.
I think he made a very good point.
Well, that's our show. We're down to 1 minute. I want to thank you very much, Don, for bringing this excellently well-researched
hope it was interesting to folks. So
it was very interesting to me anyway. And final reminder that we'll be at Chili's at 6:45, and I want to thank our crew and our live studio audience.
183 and I-35.
Right, 183 and I-35.
Not the other one, or one.
And if you did not get in today, please feel free to write to tv@atheist-community.org, and that will go out to all of us, all our co-hosts and our producers, and me.
We'll try to answer your question. Thank you for our callers, and thank you very much for the crew and the great show today.
Right, and tune in next week, when my host will be my sister, Karen Glasser.
All right.
And she will, well, anyway, bye.